How about you joining me as I take on the challenge of transforming ordinary landscapes into stunning black and white images through photo editing. But first, we're gonna go and take the shot.
Hi there everybody, today I'll be taking some long exposure shots in black and white and we'll be editing them back home in the studio. The shots will be about this tower here, up here. I've already set up my camera.
I have my cable release and I'll be taking the shot of around 2 minutes. Now I'll be showing you the image after 2 minutes and we'll go back to the studio and we'll edit this image together from color straight to black and white, and then we'll be doing some final adjustments back in Lightroom or Adobe Camera Raw.
And here we are in Adobe Camera Raw. I've already done some settings, some basic adjustments on the exposure panel. And now we'll be taking it into Photoshop. And then from Photoshop, we'll be going into Nik Collection, the Silver FX Pro. I'm going to press open, and now we're in Photoshop. Before, in my previous videos, I used to change it to black and white by going down to the adjustments panel here and just click on black and white and then onto the gradient map. If you want, you can check my other videos about this method, but today we'll be trying another method by using over here on the left side the Silver FX Pro. It's a Nik Collection and I bought it a couple of years ago. It's a one-time buy and I find it very effective for turning your images from color to black and white. But the first thing I'm going to do is make a duplicate of the background, and then we're going to click on Silver FX Pro. And here we are in Silver FX Pro. As you can see, it's already been transformed into black and white. On the left we have the presets. You can choose any preset you want. The first one is on the neutral, and you can click on these other presets until you find your liking. There's high structure. The ones that I've starred here are sometimes I use them in my favorites, and sometimes I don't use them at all. But now I'm just gonna go back to the neutral and I'm gonna play around with these sliders on the right side. I'm not going to do much, just maybe increase the blacks or the shadows. I'm going to start by amplifying the whites somewhat there. I'm not going to touch any structure. I've already done some sharpening in Adobe Camera Raw. And from here, I'm just going to go back to Photoshop. I'm going to press apply. And here we are again in Photoshop. I'm going to close the Nik Collection panel. And you can see on the right side we have the Silver FX Pro 3, and that's the before and the after for black and white. Now from here I'm going to flatten the image, and we're going to go back to Adobe Camera Raw to do some final touches, mostly with masking. Going back to Adobe Camera Raw, I will be applying a few masks. First thing I do is use the linear gradient for the sky. Hold down the up arrow on your keyboard and you get a straight line. You see? Straight. I'm gonna decrease the exposure. Should be okay. I'm gonna use another mask, another linear gradient for this guy, but just for the top part. Gonna reduce the exposure again. Should be okay. Another linear gradient, but now for the foreground. Not too much. Press the up arrow, keep it straight. And by doing this method, we'll be drawing the viewer's eye into the center of the image, where the subject are these sun rays, light rays, and the tower. Gonna reduce it a bit more. I try to balance the foreground and the sky, the same darkness. And now from here, I'm gonna do a radial gradient, and I'm gonna place it over the surf, the water, the waves. Open it up a bit. Make sure your feathering is up to 100. Don't overdo it with the exposure because it looks really weird. Just give it that natural look. Around 55. And here I'm gonna go further down and increase slightly the texture. You can see the difference. Not too much, should be okay. A bit of clarity. And I think I'm gonna increase the whites. That should be great. I'm gonna use another mask, another radial gradient, and I'll be placing it over the main subject, which is this part of the sky. And here we're gonna increase the exposure. I'm gonna reduce the highlights, just get more detail, and again increase the exposure. I'm going to see the before and after. Press on this eyeball here. Should be okay. I'm going to use another radial gradient, and I'm going to create a vignette, but I'm going to place the vignette where there is the brightest part. Normally we place the vignette in the middle like this. I'll show you quickly. Something like that, and you get the edges darkened. That's just a normal vignette. But now I'm going to create a natural vignette. by just placing it over the brightest part of the image. And here, what do? Making a vignette, we invert the mask. Open it up just a bit more. And decrease the exposure. Not too much. It should be okay. And now I'm going to use another mask, but I'll be using the brush. Make the brush a bit smaller. Somewhere here, I'm just gonna go over, we'll be doing some dodging just over these parts where it's a bit white, a bit bright, sorry, and over here. Over there as well. If you go a bit overboard, just subtract up here, use the brush again and just minus it away. Gonna reduce it a bit here. And I'm gonna increase the exposure. Not too much. Show you the before and after. I'm going to decrease it just a bit more. And that should be okay. Now for the last thing, come out of the masking. I'm going to take it back to Photoshop for the final adjustment. Press OK. Now the final adjustment, I'm going to be using the curves. You're going to tell me why I didn't use the curves in Adobe Camera Raw. I prefer here, it's much more accurate. I'm going to use the linear contrast. Click on the default. You can choose any one you want, but I prefer the linear contrast. You get this S shape, but I don't want to darken the blacks anymore. I click on the spot here and slowly raise it to where it was. I'm going to click on the white here, the dot on the whites, that's affecting the whites. I'm going to increase it just a bit more. Going to close here, and we can press on the eyeball for the before and after. And there we have our final image, which we turned from color into black and white. We've done some masking, not too much, everything subtle. And there we have our final image. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you like black and white photography. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and a thumbs up. See you guys, and thanks for watching.